Hey and welcome to Marc's Miniature Monday. Today we're going to be looking at airbrushing basics and we're going to be utilising a whole bunch of 15mm K47 miniatures which we've recently got hold of. So get out your airbrush.
Hey everybody, I know it's Marc's Miniature Monday, but because Marc currently is masked up and airbrushing and making lots of noise, I am doing commentary, so I'll kind of be running that along. You can see he's just putting in some Vallejo surface primer in there, and now he's underway airbrushing on that primer tone. He keeps the airbrush a reasonable distance from the model, and you can see he's using very controlled compressions and pullbacks on the trigger there, keeping the model in motion and also just feathering the paint on. Now, by feathering, what I mean is he's not holding the trigger back permanently, and nor is he holding it down. He's just repeatedly pressing it to keep a semi-frequent flow of paint and air through there. So we skipped over primering pretty quick. It doesn't take that long, to be honest, and that's one of the joys of airbrushing. Here you can see where things get a bit more interesting. So he's added some white in here. I think he's using a similar surface primer, and he's starting to tease it over the high points of the model. Now, this is what's referred to as zenithal highlighting. Essentially, that means that the airbrush acts as the zenith of where light would naturally be hitting the model. But instead of light, we're using paint. Now, the joy of doing that with an airbrush is it means that the paint, where it falls, if it's only coming from a certain angle, it can't hit the other side if it's blocked off. And that means that Marc here is instantly, as you can see, starting to create depth and volume in the model. Now you'll see that whilst the airbrush is essentially acting as a light source and should be a singular point, maybe pointing down, Marc is moving the model around a little bit, like just to hit the legs here, and that's because he's also wanting to add some artistic flair, and he recognises that these high points are going to create the illusion of reality by focusing on the tops of the legs. On some of these edge pieces, it's always good to try and get a sharp, starker highlight on the edges and on corner points. And there you can see that's the finished result from doing that. Now we're skimming over this quite quick. That's partly because we've actually got an airbrushing guide in an upcoming issue of Wargames Illustrated 407, which covers all the airbrushing basics, what kit you need, and will get you to a point of airbrush proficiency where you can easily create models like this. This video hopefully is serving as an illustration to see just how that trigger works, that Marc's not pulling it back. Here he's tested out different greens to get the right paint consistency, and once again using it through the airbrush, and even more lightly here, starting to feather that trigger to get a very light coating. And this essentially is going to cover what's beneath, but it's going to let all the white points show through and graduate highlights. And this is how you create really rich, nice coloration with an airbrush whilst at the same time maintaining a lot of depth. What you shouldn't be doing with an airbrush is straight away painting with a green and then trying to highlight that green up with white, because you'll get a powdery, chalky effect. It's far better to use this underpainting approach with the zenithal highlights, sometimes called pre-shading, even though you're kind of pre-highlighting. And you can then just spray over the top with your colour of choice, and you'll get a great result. Here he's shifted to the turret. We've just skipped ahead a little bit because it's really the same thing. Just if you watch Marc's finger on the trigger there, though, you'll see it's barely being pulled back and it's barely being pressed. On this Infinity airbrush, we've actually there's a little restrictor at the back of the airbrush there, which can make this much easier because it can be locked in place to stop the airbrush from actually being pulled back any further. So that's a really handy little extra. But you want to learn how to do that with your own airbrushing and get it trigger pulled. With that done, Marc's cleaning out the airbrush, just putting some airbrush cleaner in there, and that's that. Running it through the cleaning pot there. Important to keep your airbrush clean, keep it running well. Okay, and we're going to leave it there for this video, but come back in the next one in this series and Marc will go through weathering. He'll take what he's just done and he will apply some simple weathering techniques to basically finish things off and in a very quick time make an excellent looking tabletop miniature. In the meantime, why not like, subscribe and all that good stuff, ring the bell so you can see future videos and get notified of them, and We're just new starting out on this, so maybe leave us a comment. Okay, we'll see you next time.
This video has been brought to you by WI Prime, Wargames Illustrated magazine's online members club. View more videos or find out more about WI Prime by following these links.